Welcome everyone, Christine here with the top 5 United States units in Broken Arrow from my perspective, starting with the F-22 Raptor. What does one need to say about the F-22 Raptor except the fact that it is the best jet fighter in the game, largely because it has the best stealth profile in the game, as well as really good weapons. So you get the AIM-260s. The Russians may have some better missiles, but the F-22 just has that better stealth profile to work with. So you do have the AIM-260s, JATMs. Now you can equip 4 of these on the plane, and you also do have 2 Sidewinders and 2 AMRAAMs on the plane as well. So you do have 6 longer range missiles, 2 shorter range missiles. That's a good amount of missiles. If you're going to be paying the air tax, as people have started calling it, this is really the plane for it. It's available as part of the Special Operations Forces, the Special Forces for the United States. And it is just flat out better than anything else. And it's not necessarily even that expensive compared to everything else. But I think jet fighters do need a bit of a rebalancing, because an F-22 should not be similar in cost to an F-16V Viper, from my perspective. In fact, jet fighters and aircraft in general, some of these things can be ridiculously expensive. I understand the logic behind it from a developer standpoint, but it just means like something like the F-22 is going to be better than everything else. Then we got to talk about helicopters, specifically transport helicopters. See, transport helicopters are important in the game because they give you the mobility of transporting troops, transporting supplies across the battlefield faster, easier, safer than pretty much everything else. It's a question of using them at low altitude if you're in a danger zone, because it's going to be difficult to take them down at low altitude, or flying at higher altitude for better speed. So basically, transport helicopters are really good, but there is none, except the Mi-26, I suppose, but there is none on the US side that compares to the King Stallion. It's pretty simple. It's a big-ass helicopter that can seat 30 troops, as well as carry 16,000 in terms of cargo capacity. That's a lot of supplies, that's a lot of troops, that's a lot of equipment that this thing can carry. Also, it is reasonably fast, all things considered. Like, you look at a Chinook, which is the direct competitor, it doesn't have the same forward speed as a King Stallion. Regardless of how you're going to cut it, the only one that has a better speed is the Osprey, but the Osprey has nowhere near the cargo capacity of a King Stallion. So at number 4, it is, from my view, the King Stallion. At number 3, it is the Silent Hawk. This is a transport helicopter for infantry, for the Special Forces. It's obviously not going to be used to carry cargo, but it is a stealth helicopter. And this is very, very important, because when it comes to infantry in this game, one of the things you should be doing with infantry is, beyond just using them to hold points, and even that's a bit of a discussion on how you should use them for that particular purpose, but one of the things you want to do with infantry is harass the enemy, get scouting, move AA troops in a certain location, move anti-tank troops, move infantry closer and closer. And this is what the Silent Hawk provides far better than anything else in the game, because you can spot a transport plane, you can spot a transport helicopter, but it's far more difficult to spot a stealth helicopter, specifically because its stealth profile, I think it's actually the best stealth profile in the game, because it's got a 2.5 rating on it. But beyond that, due to the way helicopters work, being able to drop their altitude, it is very difficult to spot one of these Silent Hawks. So that means that you attach Special Forces specialization with any other specialization, all infantry that you have are going to be that much better with Silent Hawk. You're just going to have that extra kind of mobility on the battlefield because of it. It might not be the sexiest option to talk about transport helicopters or big cargo helicopters like the King Stallion, or to talk about a simple transport helicopter for infantry like the Silent Hawk, but I swear to you, these kind of units are the ones that actually determine the success in matches. Because if you can sneak up infantry, if you can gain the initiative against an enemy, that is really going to play a big role in you being able to succeed. Now, and number 2 is actually an infantry option, specifically the Marine Raider CQC. So close quarters combat. These guys are ridiculous. Now, you may not be able to fit them in some of the things I mentioned, because there's a lot of them. So they do have that specific downside available to them. Like, you could probably use, obviously, a bigger transport helicopter. Or we can look, at an Osprey in that respect. So they do have that problem with transportation, because there's 14 of them. But these 14 guys, they're equipped in a way that very few other infantry options are. Now, obviously, they're not a long-range infantry. You can equip them for standoff, but that's really just wasting their potential, because their potential is close quarter combat. They have, beyond their assault rifles, they have 2 grenade launchers, 4 shotguns, and a lot of law missiles. So you're looking at an infantry option, and you put these guys in a building, chances are they're not going to get taken out by another infantry that gets close to them. In fact, they're probably going to kill multiple infantry units. The only way you destroy these guys is obviously by bringing a bunch of vehicles, but oh wait, they can deal with a bunch of vehicles as well. That makes them pretty damn crazy to deal with. The Marines in general as a deck can suffer, or a specialization can have a lot of issues from my view, but the close quarter combat Marine Raiders are ridiculously good. And as far as infantry goes, sure, they do have a cost associated with them, but they more than pay for themselves. They're just a phenomenal unit to use in the game. And then, of course, at number 1, it is the M2A4 Bradley. So the way you gain the M2A4 Bradley, it's a question of the engine here, right here. It's not a question of protection or anything like that. It's just like you switch the engine. But you look at the Bradley. So let's consider the aspect of a Bradley. It's as armored as a freaking tank. Seriously. The amount, not something like a T-14 or an Abrams, but there are plenty of armored vehicles that have nowhere near the durability of a Bradley. And in fact, if we look at something like an M1A2 and then we look at the Bradley, you can kind of start understanding why a Bradley is so freaking ridiculous. Like, sure, you can get more armor on an M1A2, an M1 Abrams right there, but it's not really going to have the same level of protection. Like, the fact that it's that's similar enough in terms of HP, the fact that we can even look at armor and see that, yes, a tank is obviously going to be more durable, but here's the catch. Cost. Cost is a big deal. One of these Bradleys will flat out defeat an M1A2. Simple as that. Like, in a straight-up battle, a Bradley wins. Unless a Bradley's stupid enough to just get in closer, but you don't get in closer. You blow it up with home missiles. Now, of course, some people will argue that there is a vehicle that's comparable to the Bradley and in some ways better, and that is the M1283 AMPV. The reason is you can put a Javelin and Bushmaster on it, you can put an Iron Fist. And that's, by the way, one of the benefits of the Bradley. It does have Iron Fist protection. It's not going to be as good as the protection you can get on certain tanks, but again, cost is a factor. But some people will argue in favor of the AMPV. It is a bit more expensive, but it does have more transportation capacity, which is not something to sneeze at. It's a bit less durable in terms of HP, but some people will argue this is better. I will disagree with that, because while Javelins do have certainly some significant advantages, you gotta understand that the Bradley has almost double the missile capacity of an AMPV. And that's not something to joke around. It also has greater sight range than an AMPV, which is, by the way, funny when we're thinking about the AMPV, because you know what the AMPV is in real life? It's a Bradley without the turret. So these two vehicles, they're not really that different. They have the same gun. It's the question of missiles. It's a question of recon capacity versus troop carrying capacity. From my view, though, I vastly prefer the Bradley. There's some value in the javelins, to be sure, but that supply situation, if you're looking for a vehicle to transport troops, well, the MPV might be better, but there's tons of options that are much better. But if you're looking for a vehicle to actually be cheap, win most battles against most armored vehicles in the entire game to a ridiculous point, have a lot of ammunition doing so, just take up that fight. There are some advantages with javelins, but really, TOW2s are great. They might be lacking in certain respects, but you look at a TOW2 compared to a javelin, right? You might see that it has a greater capability of penetration, to be sure, but that ammo situation does actually matter, as does the extra range, because you're going to be able to fire those TOWs at a greater range. So it's not something to joke about with regards to that. So from my view, I prefer having the Bradley as opposed to the MPV, and I think it is just flat out the best vehicle in the game. Seriously, this is better than tanks. The reason it's better than tanks is because of cost aspect, the recon capability, anti-tank missile capability. It's really, really good. It might not have the cannon that you see on tanks, but it's going to be able to hold its own in a lot of different situations and have a lot more versatility than a tank. So that is my perspective about the best units available for the United States at the moment in Broken Arrow. Let me know what you guys think. What other units do you think I should have included? I mean, you do have obviously artillery options, anti-air options, tank options, but these are the units that I think are going to play some of the biggest roles if you're using them. These units can carry a battle for you in a way that other units can't. Christine signing out.